I had 3 victims that I've been working with, victims of the Carters, that were ready to come forward. This might help them feel a little more confident now. So this is great. Everything you see about him is an illusion, but what he loves the most is controlling youth.
Fact check me. And Jaguar has more information than I do. So to anybody who discredits her is really doesn't know what's going on, because she has more information than I could even dream of having, because I'm sure, without even speaking to her about this.
For 15 long years, everyone's been fed the same story. Rihanna, the helpless victim, Jay-Z, the noble mentor, and Chris Brown, the monster who ruined it all. But what if that entire narrative was flipped upside down? What if the real victim was silenced while the real manipulator built an empire off of everyone's sympathy and lies?
So tell me about your audition with Jay-Z. Tell me what he said to you.
A really good audition.
Yes.
But before I met him, I was so nervous. I was shaking literally. But the moment I walked into the office, the atmosphere was so warm and welcoming.
And you had to sing a cappella for him?
Yes, I had to sing. I sang Pun to Replay. I sang another ballad from the album last time.
Yeah. So then what did he say to you? He said something to you.
Oh yes, he said, we don't sing songs here, we sing artists. And there was this little pause, and I was nervous. But then he said, and we're interested. And there was this sudden feel of relief.
But then he said something about a window and a door or something.
Oh, then he said, he said it one more.
I did a lot of homework on you, Miss Lady.
He said, there are 2 ways to leave here, either through the door with the deal sign or through this window, and we're on the 29th floor.
So you was like, where's the pen? Where's the paper? I'm signing. Yeah.
Jaguar Wright just dropped a bombshell that could rewrite everything we thought we knew about this situation, because sometimes the victim is actually the one hiding the truth. And tonight, the mask might finally come off. She claims that Rihanna isn't just innocent, she was in on it, and the receipts she's about to spill will make your jaw drop. Let's rewind, not to the fairy tale story the media sold us, but to the real beginning.
Signed her that night. We didn't let her leave the office.
Really?
The 3 in the morning was when that contract got signed. So from the meeting around 3, 4 in the afternoon, we signed it by 3 in the morning.
Wow.
That day, I was absolutely certain.
How often does that happen? I mean, that's
not often.
That's unheard of, right?
That's not, yeah. I mean, to get lawyers to draft up contracts and then the other side to agree to contracts in 10 hours that's retarded.
No.
Picture this, a 16-year-old girl from Barbados, flown halfway across the world, sitting in a Manhattan skyscraper at 3 a.m. No parents, no chaperone, no protection. Just a teenage girl and a powerful man who would soon control every inch of her life. Now listen closely to Rihanna's own words. She calls it an audition, but the details tell another story. The way she describes the fear, the pressure, and that eerie isolation.
Get discovered. This is an unusual story.
Well, first, I met a producer in Barbados who was vacationing there because his wife is from there. So he was vacationing there one time, and my friend who knows him, she wanted me to meet with him. So in a nutshell, I went to his hotel room, I sang for him, and he was impressed. So he invited me out to his studio to do some recording, and we recorded for like a year back and forth. Then we finally put a demo together. We sent it to a few labels, and Def Jam happened to be the first label to call back. They were the most enthusiastic about everything. So we set up a meeting with Jay-Z, and I met with him, and he was very impressed by the audition. And he didn't let me leave until 3 in the morning after we signed the deal.
Well, were you nervous meeting Jay?
What? I was literally shaking in the lobby.
It was the longest 12 hours of my life. Like, I was just waiting downstairs, and I was like, get the contract down here. I want to sign, I want to sign, I want to sign. I was so hyped. I didn't sleep for the next 3 days.
It's chilling. She says she had no choice but to sign, and that line alone changes everything. Now here's where it gets downright disturbing. Jay-Z himself, years later, practically bragging about what went down. He said, "We didn't let her leave without signing." Let that sink in for a second. A grown man proudly admitting he didn't let a 16-year-old girl walk out of his office until she signed her life away. That's not mentorship, that's manipulation. That's not a business deal, that's coercion. And the proof of what that did to her?
She was a kid at that time, correct?
A 15-year-old girl who had been flown to the United States without parental supervision or a chaperone, brought to a grown man's office in a large corporate Manhattan building. Everybody knew when she flew in. I was there the day she got signed. Everyone was talking about it. And the 6 hours that she spent with him, and the 4 hours that she spent alone with him with no parental supervision. Her father didn't show up till the next day to come and collect the check.
Well, and
this is her life.
The rumors were even beyond that, right? That Jay-Z was cheating on Beyonce with her when she was
Very much
17
so.
is what a lot of this came out through a publicist who later then
Have
had
you
to
spoken
apologize.
to my friend Jonathan? Hey, you should talk to Jonathan.
Rihanna reportedly couldn't sleep for 3 whole days after that meeting. 3 days. When someone can't close their eyes after a so-called business meeting, that's not excitement. That's a trauma response.
And then the next thing you know, she was removed from that first team from Pond the Replay and replaced with all new handlers and kept sheltered in Los Angeles, where she was going out to parties and partying at 15, 16, 17 years old, hanging out at the Rainbow Room, hanging out. Yeah, like it was one of my friends who found out she was 17 when everyone thought she was 21. And he was like, yo, why do y'all got me carrying this girl around? And she's, oh, it's cool, it's cool.
Well, but just to echo and support you, like they had to debunk that. Oh, we apologize. It wasn't real. We made it up in hopes of giving her single a boost.
Yeah, they
Like,
promised
what?
Jonathan a deal working at Tidal and something, and then they reneged. And then the next thing you know, he was caught in a home invasion robbery while he was working on the Drake secret baby mama story, Sophie. He was duct taped him and his daughter, and he was pow whipped in front of his child. So, you know, there's a lot that goes on in the backdrop.
Her body knew what her mind couldn't process, that something went horribly wrong that night. One of the insiders even said, hey, you should talk to Jonathan, like there's more behind this story than anyone dares to admit. But Jaguar Wright digs even deeper, and what she exposes next is even darker. She claims Rihanna wasn't even 16, she was 15. A 15-year-old girl alone in a high-rise with a powerful man who'd been planning that encounter for hours. It's enough to make your skin crawl. 4 whole hours. That's how long this teenage girl was left alone with him, while the entire industry turned a blind eye. Nobody stepped in, nobody questioned it, and the silence says everything. But it didn't stop there.
Dad, I know I promised you I'm gonna give you my first Grammy, but we might have to fight for this one.
She said she wanted to thank everybody for her first Grammy.
Anyway, I'd like to thank Jay-Z for being a part of this record with me.
She liked to thank Jigga Man for being the greatest in the world.
Ellen Reed, Steve Bartles, Tata, Jay Brown, Karen Kwok for finding this amazing record. Tricky, Dream for writing such a beautiful record. Thank you, I love you guys. Mom, Dad, my 2 brothers, Rory and Rajad. Please wrap up, okay? Barbados, I love you. We got one. Evan Rogers, Carl Sturken, Mark Jordan, Krista, and making sure I don't forget anybody. Thank you so much. This means a lot.
According to Jaguar Wright, the conditioning continued right after that contract was signed. Rihanna, still just 15 or 16, was suddenly thrown into the wild adult party circuit. Packed rooms, powerful men, flashing cameras, and not one single person thought, wait, she's just a kid. Instead, the same people who should have protected her ended up enabling her exploitation. And this part will chill you to the core. Anyone who dared to speak up, anyone who tried to whisper that something wasn't right, was systematically removed. One by one, gone. Even her big Grammy moment. The night that was supposed to be her victory, Jay-Z controlled it all. Watch that footage closely and ask yourself, is that a proud mentor or a puppet master, making sure his investment stays obedient?
He's been evading, but the thing is, everyone in the backdrop knew that he was the celebrity John Doe. Everybody knew that. They knew it when I did Pierce Morgan.
Is Beyonce celebrity B?
I hope to God not, but she was around. And she's very... She's got enough on her plate. After everything that happened with the election and everything that's happening right now, I'm not going to dump on that woman. She got better fish to fry.
Well,
what I
look.
will say is that her husband, she knows exactly who he is.
This was never a story about a bright young star being discovered. It's the blueprint of systematic predatory behavior, dressed up as business. And the scariest twist? Rihanna learned that playbook too well. Jaguar claims she later used those same manipulation tactics to ruin someone who tried to expose the truth. But before we get there, you have to understand, Rihanna wasn't the only one. She was part of a pattern that's been repeating for decades, and the person who knows that pattern better than anyone. Oh, they're about to speak. And now, brace yourself, because Jaguar Wright drops a bombshell that could shake Hollywood to its foundation. She claims Beyonce knows exactly who her husband really is. She knows what he's done, what he's still doing, and she's watched it unfold for decades. But here's the twist. She didn't stay quiet out of fear. She stayed quiet to protect the empire. An empire worth billions, more valuable to her than the lives left broken behind the scenes. Let that sink in.
He was after Beyonce when she was before 18, correct? I mean, as we go through the timeline, they claim, oh no, I met him at 18 and then we waited till I was 19, but they knew each other when she was like 15, 16, correct? He clearly had eyes, and it's not the only one, right? There's Aaliyah as well. I was looking at these photos. There's a history
but
of
Aaliyah,
this, right?
definitely. A lot of people don't realize the timeline, but after everything went bad with Robert Kelly and he had to divorce Aaliyah, Jay-Z was interested while she was still underage. And as she started spending more time in New York, he was very, very, very right there. She didn't want that. She didn't want that with him. And if there's one thing I can tell you about Sean Carter, being embarrassed and being rejected are things he does not handle well. You know, a lot of people say, oh, you're crazy. He didn't do anything to Big L.
The woman praised as a global feminist icon, the same one who preaches empowerment and sisterhood on every stage, has allegedly stood by, watching young girls be exploited and never said a single word, not one. That silence speaks volumes, and according to Jaguar, it's not ignorance, it's complicity. Jaguar then lays out the full, disturbing pattern. Jay-Z didn't just discover Rihanna. Before her, there was Beyonce.
That Jay-Z used to have transgender women on there, on the tour bus. He knows that. He knows that Jay-Z used to prefer transgender women. So I don't know why. I wish Dame Dash would come out and, you know, say everything, but maybe in his own way, he's trying to, you know, protect the hip hop culture and knows how many people could be crushed if he came out and really spoke about Jay-Z's secrets. They set out to do that, you know?
Did you personally see Jay-Z with transgender women? You personally?
I have, correct.
Can you speak on like maybe in what aspect? Is it music video or outside of music videos?
It was during the tour. It was during the tour with the Mill, DMX, Jay-Z.
The Hard Knock Life.
No.
Or maybe a different one.
Yeah, they had the documentary for it. What was that called? I'll think of it. I'll think of it here in a little bit.
Yeah, it was a documentary, backstage or the
backstage with the Mill and all that. I used to work with her, and I definitely. It was unmistakable. You know, in 2024, the trans women are, you know, it can be hard. You know, like a lot of people that, you know, they don't know, but back then it wasn't as advanced, and you could clearly tell, you know, that was a guy.
And before that, there was Aaliyah. 3 young women, 3 rising stars, and every time the same chilling formula: fame, control, and silence. But here's where things turned dark. Aaliyah was different. She refused him. And Jaguar claims Jay-Z doesn't handle rejection well. Remember that line? Because it's about to make your blood run cold when we get to what happens to the ones who say no. Pay attention to the timeline, because once you connect these dots, it paints a picture that's impossible to unsee. Beyonce at 15, Aaliyah at 16, Rihanna at 15.
Speaking of PTSD, you made a comment about this. Like, this was from a Super Bowl appearance more recently. This bothered you, seeing her put the Rockefeller's logo out there.
If you
what
go
was your
back
instinct to that?
and watch, it was almost as if she didn't want to put her hands up, and then she looked over where Jay-Z's box was, and then you just see her hand. She look at her. She's looking at his box. She didn't want to do it. She didn't even want to do that gig. But the hold, especially the financial hold with the companies and all of the money and all of the strings that he pulled to. He treats these women like shell corporations.
Is that why this happened? Do you have any insight on this infamous elevator video where Solange was seen just unloading on him? Beyonce's there as well.
What I will say is, right there, that's the moment when he told her to back up and called her Tito Jackson.
Respect
and
love to Tito Jackson, who we just lost recently.
I know. Tito
Legend,
could never get a break. And he's the nicest guy.
But here,
yeah,
Jay-Z trying to mimic, she's not worthy, she's nobody, is what he's trying to do.
Pretty much, is what he pretty much said to her. But the thing is there was infidelity that was happening that night. Both of them got caught doing things they weren't supposed to do. I believe there might have been some DV that happened. And people who know Mr. Carter knows he doesn't have a problem with putting his hands on his wife. Plenty of people know that to be true. Solange is different. Allegedly, Solange is different. She's old school Southern, and she loves her big sister, even when her big sister makes mistakes. She stood up for her sister. The most interesting thing about that, though, can we look at that one more time, Andy? They come in, and all of this, and then look, it almost looks like he's going to defend himself, but instead he prostrates himself, right? He lets Solange go nuts, and then he sits there and acts. He knows that camera's there. He knows where all the cameras are in that place. There's another footage, and I'll get it and I'll send it to you, of him with another woman approaching him aggressively, or it seemed like aggressively, and he the crap out of her. Matter of fact, there's at least 5 different shows over the course of the past 15 years where he has physically women that came into his space that he didn't want anywhere near him. So I find it funny that in all those other instances, he had no problem with putting his hands on a woman to so-called defend himself. But when he's getting killed alive with cameras there, all of a sudden now he's meek and mild. I think that was a setup. I think he did that specifically to handle up on Solange.
You still think that's a coincidence? No, that's a pattern, a cold, calculated methodology. Jaguar Wright says Jay-Z's been running this playbook for over 3 decades, using his power in the industry not to uplift, but to exploit. And he's mastered the art of doing it right under everyone's nose. But it gets even darker. Industry insider Jonathan Hay came forward, exposing Jay-Z's hidden side, a disturbing deviance that people around him couldn't ignore anymore. Even Dame Dash, once his closest ally, reportedly saw things that made him cut all ties for good. Imagine that. Your business partner so disgusted by what he witnessed that he walks away from millions? That says everything. This isn't just about targeting young girls. This is about a man whose private behavior was allegedly so twisted that even the people cashing checks beside him couldn't bear to stay silent. And don't forget, this is the same man who locked a 15-year-old Rihanna in an office for 4 long hours. But what makes this whole thing even wilder is Beyonce's silence. Jaguar claims she didn't just know, she profited from it. Every single time Jay-Z preyed on another young girl, it added another brick to their empire. Every time the industry turned a blind eye, it secured their power. Beyonce made her choice: protect the brand or protect the victims. And she chose the empire. She could have exposed him. She could have saved so many girls from going through the same nightmare. But instead, Beyonce made a chilling choice. She became his most powerful accomplice. For years, she's helped cover up a legacy of manipulation and silence. And that decision, according to Jaguar Wright, came with deadly consequences for anyone who dared to speak up. But to understand how deep this control really goes, you've got to see how Jay-Z keeps his grip on the people around him. Because the conditioning, that's just step 1. What comes next is an entire system designed to guarantee silence, loyalty, and obedience, no matter the cost.
Okay, the person who leaked the security video of Solange attacking Jay-Z was found and then fired. Reportedly, it was a female security guard. And she didn't take the tape from the hotel security system, she recorded it on her cell phone. Well, that was smart, though, because, I mean, I'd be thinking about just take the tape. So that was smart. The less than smart thing is that it took her 5 days. She shopped it around for 5 days before she got, some dough for it. Finally, it was TMZ who bought the video. Originally, it was reported that whoever sold it for $250,000, but now there's some discrepancy in the amount of money. Some people are saying $50,000, some are saying $100,000, others are saying $250,000. Either way, now she's going to lose it all because now the Standard's going to sue her. They've hired a high-priced lawyer to go after this security guard girl, and now she can never be, I guess, a security person again since she's a security breacher. It's terrible.
Now pay attention. Jaguar points to a shocking example. She brings up Solange and the infamous moment where Rihanna performed at the Super Bowl. Watch closely, she says. Notice how Rihanna hesitates before throwing up that Rockefeller diamond, glancing straight toward Jay-Z's box, like she's waiting for his approval before doing it. That's not admiration. That's submission. This isn't an artist honoring her mentor. It's a woman moving like she's under command. Jaguar even exposes how Jay-Z uses financial control to keep both Rihanna and Beyonce locked in place. They're not partners. They're assets, carefully managed, manipulated, and used to protect his empire at all costs. Every move they make, every smile, every interview, every little hand gesture, it's all strategic. Every public appearance is designed to protect the image that keeps Jay-Z's alleged system alive. But according to Jaguar Wright's sources, the control doesn't stop at money or contracts. It goes much darker. She claims both Beyonce and Rihanna are victims of systematic domestic violence. Behind all the diamonds, gowns, and flawless performances hides a brutal truth.
I am strong. This happened to me. I didn't cause this. I didn't do it. This happened to me, and it can happen to anybody. There are a lot of women who've experienced what I did, but not in the public. So it made it really difficult. I just felt like, oh my God, here goes my little bit of privacy, just exposed. Like, it's something that nobody wants anybody to know. So here I am, the whole world knowing.
Why be ashamed?
Because I didn't want people to think that that's the kind of person I fell in love with that person. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing that that's the type of person that I fell in love with. So
the two most powerful women in music might both be suffering at the hands of the same man. In the industry, it's trained them to cover for each other, to protect the machine instead of themselves. That's the twisted part. The whole world sees female empowerment, while behind the scenes, they're trapped in silence and fear. But here's where it turns truly sinister. Solange wasn't just fighting for her sister that night in the elevator. She was taking a swing at the entire system. She was Beyonce's last real lifeline. Her family, her support, her only connection to freedom outside Jay-Z's grip. So what happened next? According to Jaguar, Jay-Z made sure Solange got humiliated, publicly shamed, and pushed right out of Beyonce's circle. Look back, after that elevator incident, Solange vanished from the spotlight almost overnight. One moment she's everywhere, the next, gone. Controlled chaos at its finest. The sisters who were once inseparable, gone. Torn apart piece by piece. Jay-Z didn't just survive that elevator fight with Solange, he capitalized on it.
Far in love, so unconditional that I went back.
On average, I think it takes a woman 7 times before she leaves.
8 or 9, actually. And I don't want that to happen. That's not what I want to teach people. But again, people, I'm a human being, and people put me on a very unrealistic pedestal. And all these expectations. I'm not perfect. Also, it's pretty natural for that to be the first reaction. It's completely normal to go back. You start lying to yourself. The minute the physical wounds go away, you want this thing to go away. This is a memory you don't want to have ever again.
He used the chaos to erase Beyonce's biggest source of emotional strength, her sister. From that moment on, Beyonce stood alone, fully under his control. And guess who was quietly watching all this unfold? Rihanna.
I couldn't be held responsible for telling them go back. Chris, even if Chris never hit me again, who's to say that their boyfriend won't? Who's to say that they won't kill these girls? And these are young girls.
She was studying every move, every consequence, learning the same system that would soon be used on her. But here's where this entire story takes its darkest twist. Everything Jaguar Wright described, the manipulation, the control, the fear, was about to be flipped into one of the most calculated performances of victimhood ever seen on TV. This wasn't just PR. This was power theater. Watch this closely. Rihanna's 2009 ABC News interview with Diane Sawyer, the one that shattered Chris Brown's career and conveniently protected Jay-Z's empire. Look at how perfectly she delivers every victim talking point. I'm strong. This happened to me. I didn't cause this. Every line polished, rehearsed, and timed for maximum sympathy. But here's what Jaguar wants people to notice. Not the words, but the undertone, the pauses, the phrasing, the way she redirects blame. It's almost like she's reading from a script written to protect someone else entirely. She wasn't just painting Chris as her abuser, she was turning him into a symbolic threat to every woman on the planet. That's not the voice of raw trauma, that's strategy. This was a masterclass in character assassination, delivered on national TV. And guess the timing.
Don't see the lineup?
Yeah, we see the lineup. I'm just waiting to see who's next.
Jay-Z is setting Diddy up. Why is everyone having such a hard time? He ain't doing shit. He lined up D. Haven, stole his life and identity. He lined up Big L, stole his life and identity. He lined up Dame Dash, stole his life, identity, and took his love. Lined up R. Kelly. He wants to be the one.
Shout out D. Haven. He actually hit us up, wanted to tell this story.
You need to talk to D. Haven.
We need to talk to him.
I told you that last year when I put you on the phone with him.
You did.
I want you to think about this. Allegedly, Sean Carter is responsible for enacting Hype Williams to put Aaliyah on a faulty plane to move her out the way as punishment for rejecting him, and so he could level up Beyonce, who was struggling. Let's just say allegedly that happened. Now I want you to think about 106th and Park with Mary J. Blige. Free, who is a victim of Sean Carter.
Yeah.
Mary J. Blige, who is a victim of Sean Combs, are sitting there talking about the death of Aaliyah amongst each other. Think about that. You got a Diddy victim, you got a Jay-Z victim, and you got a superstar gone. They know what happened. And yet, they had to sit there and have that conversation like they didn't know who did it. Think of the power of that moment. Think about Claudia Jordan right now. Claudia Jordan don't ever mention my mother name. She mentioned it yesterday. Talking about why people are afraid to come forward. You mean like you? You was Diddy girl. Corey was Jay-Z girl. Why don't you claim your friend? Claudia.
So, Jack, when you say...
When I say Corey, I'm talking about Kathy White.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was about to ask.
Jay-Z's pregnant mistress,
yeah,
who died of an imagined aneurysm, just like the woman who was best friends with Kim and Kimura, who wrote the book Bling and died as soon as it made the bestsellers list. Who the f these people supposed to go to? You can't go to the boss because the boss is you. And the boss's boss don't get no. can't go to the authorities. They're all bought and paid for.
That interview dropped exactly when Chris Brown was starting to rebuild his image. One single perfectly timed appearance, and boom, his career was over before it even had a chance to recover. That's not coincidence. That's a surgical strike. Now here's where it gets terrifying. Remember everything Jaguar Wright exposed about Jay-Z's alleged pattern? The 4 hours Rihanna spent locked in that office? The fear, the manipulation, the control, the so-called contract that felt more like a death threat? All those moments of psychological domination? Keep all that in your head and now rewatch that interview. Doesn't it suddenly feel rehearsed? Rihanna delivers each victim line flawlessly, like she'd been coached. I'm strong. This happened to me. I didn't cause this. Every phrase tailored to trigger sympathy while destroying the one person who might have stumbled too close to the truth about Jay-Z's system. Jaguar claims this wasn't heartfelt testimony. It was a script crafted to protect the empire and erase the evidence. And the most chilling part? It worked. While the whole world canceled Chris Brown, Jay-Z, the alleged real predator, kept operating right out in the open, untouched and untouchable, shielded by the perfect victim he created.
People have been hitting me about, how could Jaguar Wright know all these things, right? And, how, Jaguar Wright hasn't worked with Jay-Z since, when she did the Unplugged. That's a long time ago. Well, I can tell you just from what I've experienced is the people that have contacted me since I've done like your show and since I've done other shows, people have contacted me, other victims, and have sent me, obviously there's been some people that have sent me stuff that, doesn't check out or whatever, but victims have contacted me and they have sent me proof that can never be disputed, photos, everything else, because they don't want to bring their story out, but they like what we're doing. So they're whistleblowing, but they're doing quietly to protect their jobs and to protect their families and to protect, whatever. They're not comfortable speaking out. So if I've got all kinds of information in the last 2 months, just from doing, shows like you guys, I can't imagine all the stuff that Jaguar Wright has got and to her and the access that she's seen and the people who have came to her. Like, she has such a bigger reach and such a bigger audience than me. It's and mine is getting to the point where it's overwhelming of people reaching out who have suffered from Diddy, from Jay-Z, and from these celebrities.
But that interview wasn't just about taking down Chris Brown. It was the next move in Jay-Z's long-running elimination playbook. Jaguar Wright calls it the systematic removal machine, a method he's allegedly used for decades to silence anyone daring to threaten his empire. Here's the cold, ugly truth that nobody in the industry wants to face. Jay-Z has been erasing threats for over 20 years. Every time someone gets too close, they mysteriously vanish, crumble, or die under strange circumstances. The Haven, he knew too much about the early drug ops. Gone. Dame Dash? Witnessed disturbing behavior, career destroyed. Aaliyah? She rejected his advances. Gone in a tragic plane crash. Kathy White? Rumored to be pregnant with his child. Sudden aneurysm. Every time, the same exact formula plays out. First, isolate the threat. Then, destroy their reputation. Finally, eliminate them completely, all while keeping his name spotless through carefully crafted denials. Chris Brown, he was just the next domino, but his takedown was the most public, the most ruthless, and the most calculated. The whole world watched it happen, never realizing they were witnessing another chapter in a decades-long cleanup operation. And here's where it all hits too close to home. Rihanna's own former publicist, Jonathan Hay, has come forward backing Jaguar Wright's claims.
Allegedly, the song Daughter on Beyonce's Cowboy Carter album, well, it's potentially a murder confession about Jay-Z's mistress, Kathy White. Yeah, buckle up. On August 28th, 2011, Beyonce announced her pregnancy at the MTV VMAs. On January 7th, 2012, Blue Ivy was born into this world. In 2016, Beyonce dropped Lemonade. Now, as we all know, Lemonade was a true album about infidelity. Jay-Z was rumored to have a very long-time mistress. It was well known in the industry. People knew of Kathy White because of Jay-Z, okay? Yikes. So here's where it gets a little crazy. Kathy White was known to be pregnant in 2011. Shortly after giving birth, Kathy died mysteriously in her apartment of a brain aneurysm.
I have a feeling this is related.
Okay. Now, even though we saw Beyonce's bump publicly, there's a video of Beyonce sitting down for an interview and her whole stomach just deflates in the video, and it's very weird.
This is crazy.
If you listen to Daughter, the song completely illustrates her confession. The lyrics in the song say, "Your body laid out on these filthy floors, your bloodstains on my custom coutures. Bathroom attendant let me right in. She was a big fan. I tried to stay cool, but your arrogance disturbed my solitude. Now I ripped your dress and you're all black and blue. Look what you made me do." So fans are speculating that Beyonce had Kathy White killed after Kathy White had the baby and claimed the baby as her own, and that baby is Blue Ivy.
This isn't wild speculation anymore. This is firsthand testimony from someone who was right there in the room when the decisions were made. When someone who actually worked with Rihanna backs up Jaguar Wright's claims, you can't just brush that off. That's not gossip, that's confirmation. Jonathan Hayes' words give Jaguar's story a whole new level of credibility, and it changes everything. And the deeper it goes, the darker it gets. Kathy White's death wasn't just about protecting Jay-Z. Jaguar claims Beyonce herself was involved in keeping that secret buried. The woman allegedly pregnant with Jay-Z's child didn't just pass away, she was erased. And Beyonce, she stayed silent to protect the empire she helped build. This wasn't just about covering for a predator anymore. It became a joint operation to defend a billion-dollar legacy built on silence and destruction. But the most chilling twist of all, Rihanna's evolution, she went from victim to accomplice to weapon. She learned Jay-Z's system so completely that she became his sharpest tool, eliminating anyone who threatened the truth. The same girl who was once groomed and exploited grew into the woman helping cover it all up, by tearing down anyone who dared to speak. Tonight, Jaguar Wright didn't just spill gossip. She ripped the mask off an entire empire built on control. She showed us how predators in power turned their victims into weapons. Jay-Z didn't just discover Rihanna, he molded her. From a scared 16-year-old girl trapped in his office to a global superstar who became his perfect shield. The same fear that once broke her was turned into loyalty, and that loyalty became his strongest defense. Rihanna's transformation, from victim to enforcer, exposes the full reach of systematic manipulation. The ultimate success of control isn't silence, it's obedience. So now, when you see celebrities crying on camera, calling themselves survivors, or preaching about empowerment while standing beside the very men who broke them, ask yourself this: are you watching real healing or weaponized complicity? When the victim defends their abuser, is that loyalty or programming at its peak? If you found this breakdown wild, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment below. I want to hear your thoughts. I'll catch you in the next one. Keep your eyes open and your mind sharp, fam.